I don't even know where to start. I mean, we can start with the lighting, but we're not going to go there. So a few weeks ago, I fell down this political rabbit hole, and I've fallen down rabbit holes many times in my life. Just call me Alice, right? But it's different this time, because this is not even my, like, it's, when you go back to like the lies of life, especially when you have this world that you live in, you already know there's a lot of snake. I don't want to say snake because I actually honor the Quetzalcoatl. You already know there's a lot of shiesty stuff that goes down. But then, like, this political season, it was a conversation with my father, with my daddy one day. I just did this deep dive into the history, and I will never be the same. I will never be the same. But it has prompted this conversation today that I told you guys we would have for weeks: propaganda and polarity. I'm excited because this has to do with everything. It's not just about, this is not a political conversation. This is a conversation about your life and how you are mishandling it because you don't know that you're mishandling it, because you don't know how you were supposed to handle it. So first of all, I'm Sheila Jade. This is Chocolate Cake 101. Thank you. I have to say, it's been like 2 weeks since I posted a video. Life be life in a good way, but still, there's so much going on. I had no idea that I had so much love for this channel. I had no idea that so many people were gonna miss me. You miss me. I would love to dedicate this video to Jason, but it wouldn't be fair to so many people because I got so much love and so much encouragement and so much whatever. And a lot happened, you guys, in this past time that I have not posted. My channel has celebrated its 4th year, its 4th birthday. We actually share the same birthday as Patrick, so happy birthday to both of us. And I got my 600th subscriber, so thank you to everyone that continues to tune in. And I got so many people that were just really supportive. I published the book, 31 Ways to Flow. It's in the Stan Store, but I also published it on Amazon, and then it wasn't formatted right after all that work I did to reformat it. So I unpublished it, but you can still find 31 Ways to Flow on Amazon. Anyway, let's get started. Second of all, I do not have a script for this video. I wrote one and I can't find it. I wrote one weeks ago and I can't find it. I don't know what happens to my scripts. Ask my child. Let's see. No script. We're going all the way impromptu, baby. And the scientist is back. I went to my storages, collaborated into one, found my puppets, found all my stuff. So the Chocolate Cake 101 is about to get really interesting. Granted, I stay on it. Okay, so let's get this conversation started. Propaganda and polarity. This is a very important conversation because this is about why you do what you do and how you can have more control over what happens in your life. When we hear propaganda, people think political or they think media. And that's so beautiful that you think that because, yeah, that's a big source of propaganda, but propaganda is about way much more than that. Propaganda is the reason why you like or dislike certain groups of people, especially if you've never been to that country, especially if you don't know a lot of them. You hear things. So let me slow down. When you are a child, you could say that first 7 years of life when your brain is really receptive to energy, to information around you, and takes in everything as fact. Or you can say it doesn't matter it doesn't matter when, because as long as information is being sourced to you, your brain has to interpret it and then interpret it for its survival. That's what your ego's doing. So as you're going through life, from childhood to adulthood and so on and so forth, things are going to happen. You're going to hear information. We don't always have access to the world that's around us. So we have access to the world around us through, especially in this day and age. Well, let's go back 50 years ago. It was television. It was the sources that you saw every day on television. So it was the news. It was the nightly news. It was your television shows. It was music, whatever the song was singing, whatever the song was about. It was people talking in groups. It was whatever those group of people in that place whatever they believed, whether it was people up north are like this, people down south are like this, people in the west or the east. But now these days you have social media, which has made it even worse, because not only are you sourcing information and news and fake news and fact checkers through your phone at any given time, but you also have people playing into false narratives unknowingly and knowingly. So propaganda is information that's sourced to you that creates a narrative about anything to you, about yourself, about people across the world, about men and women, old people, young people, different schools. Propaganda is the reason why you think everybody in Africa is poor, which is bullshit, because Africa is one of the richest nations, is probably the richest land in the world. And they do very well. Propaganda is the reason why you think cats and dogs hate each other. You watch Tom and Jerry growing up. Propaganda is the reason why you think America is the best country in the world. Propaganda is basically a way of saying anything to you and getting you to believe certain things. This is not that serious, because what I really want to go into is polarity, but it's so important because I had a conversation with my mom and she was like, yeah, propaganda, and she was referring to the news, and I really want you guys to understand it's about way more than just your nightly news. It is literally about, I dated a guy who had a very he did not like Eastern Indians. And me, myself, it's so crazy because I went through a whole thing where I was like obsessed with India. I was watching Bollywood movies and learning about the culture and learning about different cities and how they did things. And I had a gentleman, I'm not going to call him a sugar daddy. He was a gentleman here on a visa. He's only like 2 years older than me, and he was actually really good looking. But every couple weeks, I would say every 3 weeks, we would go to dinner. I would tell him about my trips around the world, because this is when I was traveling. He would live vicariously through me, and then he would just throw me stacks of money, and that was it. And I wouldn't see him again for like 3 weeks. I knew we were friends too. It's not like we weren't friends, but what I'm saying is we didn't have an intimate relationship. This is just us talking. I just want y'all to know it won't like that. Even though if it was, it's none of your business. But it wasn't like that. But anyway, in fact, we had a conversation about that, but that's none of your business. But anyways, so I had to realize that the reason why this guy that I dated did not like Indian people was because he was listening to the news and social media about like the rape culture there. I guess a lot of women get taken advantage of, and that's horrible. And I'm glad that he cared about those women. Then he also, just by pictures that he saw in the textbooks at school, the place was overpopulated and dirty. So he had this narrative that these people were not good people. And that is an example of propaganda, because there's going to be trash and dirt everywhere. There's going to be rapists everywhere. There's going to be people who victimize people everywhere. But doesn't mean it's everybody. So propaganda is the seed of racism, sexism, classism, genderism, whatever it is. Because unless you have a hand in that, because even if you do have a hand in that race, it's still going to be based off of so many different things that you can't say anything is one way. It's not even fair to say anything is one way. You yourself are not one way. I hope my lighting is right. For the sake of this though, we're going to see if this works, because I do want to just go over some of these things with propaganda, and I want you to see how many of them you have recognized from different elections, from politics. So techniques of propaganda: you have emotional appeal, which is fear, using fear to influence behavior; bandwagon, encouraging people to follow the crowd. Everyone's doing it. If you don't vote for me, you're not black. Glittering generalities, using vague emotional appeal statements that are hard to oppose, because I'm here for freedom. And I heard a lot of that on the Democratic side. They were calling it word salad this year, but really it's called glittering generalities propaganda. When you say vague things like, because we are fighting for justice, and everyone's like, yeah, because they are, right? But that had nothing to do with, anyway. Name calling, testimonial, featuring endorsements from celebrities or authority figures to build trust. That's what testimonial propaganda is, right? Okay, we saw that, right? Logical fallacies, false dilemma, presenting only two opinions, often extreme, as the only possible outcomes. You're either with us or you're against us. card stacking, presenting only one side of the argument, omitting critical information, post hoc fallacy, suggesting a casual relationship without sufficient evidence. Then you have ethical manipulation, plain folks, presenting the propagandist as an average person who understands the audience's concern. I did not even read that. Transfer, which is associating positive symbols like a flag with an idea to gain approval, or negative symbols to discredit it. Assertion, repeating a statement with confidence to make it seem true, even if it's unproven. Then you have channels of propaganda: print media, broadcast media, social media, public speeches, arts and culture, which we talked about, which could be movies, music, literature, visual arts used to convey specific ideologies. This goes to school, because you have to understand that the curriculum that you are given in your books that the teacher talks about, she has to talk about a specific curriculum, and what she talks about it was approved by a system that wanted you to learn specific things. When I think of this, I think of Black History Month, because so many people, specifically Black people, are so excited, Black people, quote unquote, there's no such thing as Black people, are so excited for Black History Month. But Black History Month did not come around so that you could have pride. Black History Month was created so every year you could be reminded that you were a slave. Every year you could be reminded that you are second-class citizen. Hey, I used to hang your granddaddy. I hung your granddaddy and cut his balls off and ate them every year. You guys have to understand, you can't control a people if you can't keep them mentally down. And the way that you keep them mentally down is through fear and through manipulation and through propaganda. So every year, I'm not going to tell you about all your ancestors that ran countries and the Moors that taught us how to sail, and how during the medieval times they blocked off the ports and they had the power to stop us from even eating. We're going to talk about American history, and we're going to make it seem like, which is another form of propaganda, which was the story of the history of slavery. We're going to make it seem like this was super huge, super big, and we're going to put you guys in this position. So every year you're angry all over again. If I have to hear another story about Emmett Till, this shit is so, it makes you angry, but it's by design. It's supposed to make you angry. Anyways, this Black History Month is gonna be lit, because I feel like I'm gonna finally do the things that I've been wanting to do for a long time. But anyway, then you have propaganda in practice: political propaganda, commercial propaganda, military propaganda, social propaganda. I mean, the list goes on and on, you guys. Psychological underpinnings: the effectiveness of propaganda lies in its ability to exploit cognitive biases such as confirmation bias, which is presenting information that aligns with pre-existing beliefs. A lot of people do this. They'll tell you a string of truths and then add lies in there so you don't know things that are public truths. So then when they add the lies in there, you think that it makes sense to you, even though it's bullshit. Authority bias, which is leveraging expert opinions to validate messages. Scarcity effect, highlighting limited opportunities to incite urgency. That's lack mentality, because when lack mentality goes into play, everyone goes into survival mode and they do whatever they gotta do to get by. And then you have social proof, which is demonstrating widespread acceptance to encourage conformity. Like, everybody's doing it. And this isn't that important for this, but I'm going to say it because it is a part of this. Ways to counter propaganda: fact checking, which is verifying information from credible sources. But who are these sources and how do we know that they're credible? Anyway, evaluating intent, which is what I've talked to you guys about many times, considering who benefits from the message and why, understanding where the bias comes from, identifying potential agendas in the presentation of information, and then promoting media literacy. I'm sorry, guys. I need to let you know, and I think they said this in the book 48 Laws of Power. I watched a lot of presentations from the author, but I never really read the book, because when I went into it, I was like, this is not power, this is force. But I do like the author a lot, and he did that on purpose. But I say that to say, one of the biggest tactics of propaganda is blaming your opposition for what you're doing. Like, if I'm doing it, if I'm being snake and doing bad things, I'm going to say that the other person is, and everything that I'm doing, I'm going to say that they're doing, and play the victim card in it. Like, this stuff is so when I talk to you guys about this stuff, it's not even in a way of fear or anger. I'm fascinated. It's fascinating. It's entertaining. I feel like I'm above it. I feel like I'm in a different energy, especially when you start looking at like spirituality. And I've gone through that trickster energy. I've been the victim. I don't feel like that anymore, but that's why I'm talking to you guys about it. So now that we have talked about propaganda, I hope that it was my intention that you understand the general idea of what I'm talking about when I talk about propaganda. And I want you to look in your life and look at ways that you feel like, wow, I fell for the okie doke, or wow, I believed this because of this, or wow, this might not have been true, but I believed it this way. Not even just with like different groups of people or cats and dogs or whatever, but like with everything. Make it personal. Like a lot of times we, especially in the melanated community, men and this whole war between black men and black women, that's not even our war. Someone else outside of us started that to keep you guys separated from each other. Notice I said you guys separated from each other because like I said, I'm not in that anymore. Started that, made up this thing, started this war, and then got out of it. Like that's actually what happened with the story of America and everything else. You start chaos and then you get out of it, right? But in your personal lives, a lot of that stuff isn't even true, or it didn't have to be true if you didn't believe all the BS between the two sexes. That's just an example. So start looking in your life where you fell for certain narratives that didn't have to be true, but because you believed it, it made it so. So that's propaganda. I want you to take that little nugget and put it to the side because I want to talk to you about polarity, and then I'm going to tell you how this all comes together, because polarity is the good part. But hold on, because we got to start over. Bye. Now I want you to understand that I showed you my board at the beginning. I made this a long time ago to explain how a long time ago I used to be into all these universal laws and science, and I have been out of it for a while. So when I talk to you guys about polarity, I want you to understand that it has been a long time since I have dabbled into these things. So I might be a little bit rusty. And when it comes to polarity and duality, I get a little confused because duality to me is the opposing. They say polarity is the opposing poles, but to me, duality is because duality is the two different sides, and polarity is all the different ways that it can be. But whatever. And I think they're probably laws that are kind of engulfed in another, and they're really just the same law in different cultures. But let me just say in my words. And I'm sorry that I'm so close. It's easier. I understand why people have mics now. I need to get a mic. Now that I have 600 subscribers and 4 years in, I'm gonna get a mic. What is polarity? I think I've talked about this in another video. Polarity is don't judge me. What is the law of polarity? So earlier when I was reading to you guys, I always got to give credit where credit's due. That was ChatGPT that was talking about propaganda. This is Google that's talking about polarity, and it is saying that, the universe operates on a principle of duality, a concept beautifully encapsulated in the law of polarity. It suggests that everything has its opposites: light and darkness, hot and cold, love and hate, success and failure. Thank you, Google, because that's what I was going to say. Polarity is the different poles of everything. So with everything that ever existed, it has two different sides. If you're looking at a coin, you have heads and tails. You have up and down, you have left and right. You have left and right. You have black and white. You have hot and cold. You have here and there. Those are the polarities. And what happens with our world, especially propaganda, I read that earlier, it's what did I say? It's two different extremities. If you're not with us, you're against us. Remember when I said that? Because that's stupid. You can always just be on your own, or you could be somewhere in the middle, like Democrat, Republicans. All Democrats don't believe everything that the Democratic Party says, and all Republicans don't believe all those ideologies. A lot of people fall in the middle, fall somewhere in the center, or are in their own worlds altogether, and there's nothing wrong with that. But what polarity is, and I'm speaking about this from an emotional sense, is I say this all the time. I have a video, You're Gonna Need a God, You're Gonna Need a God Part 2. I have a video about discernment, how to be cool, how to keep your cool, where I talk about not emotionally attaching yourself to an outcome. So if you hear a story, you don't have to decide that that person is right or wrong. You don't have to decide that that was a good or bad thing. You don't have to decide that this is a good or bad person. And a lot of times our societies will want us to emotionally attach. But your job is to not emotionally attach, because if you don't emotionally attach, you have more control. So when I'm talking about polarity, or I was about to go and get into a magnet, but hold on. When we talk about polarity, the different sides, you get to choose where you fall. So if something's right or wrong or good or bad. So this goes into 3 different parts, okay? So it's 1, what you're hearing or the knowledge that your mind is perceiving, which is going to be kind of like propaganda, based on if the information is something that you are intimately involved in or not. And most of the time it's not. And even if you are intimately involved in it, there are so many portions of that were knowledge from something that you were programmed to believe, or programmed for it to be, or you heard it 10,000 times, so it kind of made it seem like it was true. Because that's another way that you can deceive people. It's just saying the same thing. It could be a lie, but if you keep saying it, people are gonna start really thinking it's true. But anyway, what you perceive, how you feel about it. So taking that information, do I think this is good or bad, right or wrong, left or right, up or down, blue or red? This is the most important part, because we live in a world that taught you to perceive information, but it did not tell you that you have the ability to control your reality through your mind. We were taught to use your mind to perceive what was going on in our reality, rather than to use your mind to create what you wanted to happen, especially in our Western culture. And this might sound woo-woo to a lot of you, but if you read a lot of books, if you leave and go visit a lot of different spiritual cultures, if you look at the people at the top, they understand what I'm talking about when I'm saying you use your mind to create how you want it to be. So let me use an example here. You get the information, maybe you hear something that you don't like. Then you have to sit with that information for yourself. It could be somebody was talking bad about you or whatever. Then I said, like I already said, is this right or wrong, good or bad, left or right, whatever. So you're going to perceive, how does my mind feel about this? How does my emotions feel about this? How does my body feel about this? I don't like it. Okay. Then you take that understanding, and instead of living your life as this is something that I don't like, you fucking turn it into something that you do. You say, okay, well, how can I play with this? And the first thing that you do is you get out of your emotions. I've talked about this in so many videos. You have got to detach your emotions. And let me tell y'all something. I have been going through this heartbreak for about a year now. And it dawned on me like a few weeks ago, why am I emotionally attaching myself to this BS? This is a game. And when you emotionally detach yourself from things, I think they call it unbothered. Not playing a game, but being genuinely unbothered. Like, it's so sweet when you stop caring. And it's not that you don't care, it's that you understand that my faith makes me whole, and that unseen forces are already working on this. And that if you understand that the mind is all, you understand that the unseen forces that are already working on it, be it God, the universe, or whatever you believe in, which is all the same, right? The unseen forces that are already working on this, the only thing that can slow them down is your mind, because mind is all, and whatever you think about a situation has to play itself out. So even if you perceive something that happens that you feel like you don't like, then you use your mind to change how you feel about the situation. And you do that by, 1, stabilizing your state of being. That's why I have my book, 31 Ways to Flow. Like I said, it is right now, it is unpublished on Amazon, but that's okay because you were going to have to buy it anyway. Go to my Stand store. The link will be in the description. Download the PDF for free. It talks about 31 ways to stabilize your vagus nerve. You start meditating regularly, doing yoga, tai chi, qigong, muay thai, working out, grounding yourself, cold water therapy, whatever you want to do. Do these things consistently 3 to 5 times a day, 10 minutes. Doesn't even take that long. You're going to start seeing how things don't bother you anymore. You're going to start seeing how much more powerful you are. You're going to start seeing how you flow through life easier. And when you are able to get out of your emotions, you're able to now redirect your energy of where you want it to be. A lot of you spend your days mad about something when you really need to be focusing your energy on something else. And if you focus your energy on what you need to focus on, which is really yourself, your come up, your next adventure, your next love of life, because the love of your life is the love of your life, not some body over here who effed up, who messed up. Let him mess up. Let him be gone. Let her be gone. Stop worrying about them. Worry about yourself. You're over here. But if you would focus over here, then over there would fix itself. If you would focus over here, then over here would neutralize. This is what this is about. I said this in 3 steps. It's about what you think about what you believe. No, excuse me. It's about the information that you're getting, what you think about the information that you're getting, and how you can use that information to benefit yourself. And I talked about that in so many different videos. So if I say it vaguely today, it is what it is. Watch the other videos. Let me tell you something. When you get 600 subscribers, you feel like you can say anything on these platforms. I'm cool now. I'm cool. Anyways, I think that's the message. Was it that easy? Did I miss something? Propaganda, we went over it. That was a lot. Polarity. We talked about the different poles and polarizing yourself, not being on one side or another, polarizing yourself, getting your emotions out of it so that you can be a magnet to what you want to happen. And then we talked about using your mind once you're in control of your emotions to flow the energy where you want it to flow. I don't know what more y'all want me to say. I think that was great. I keep trying to remember to show my boobs in every episode because that one person that was mad at me for having boobs. I don't care. I'm Shayla Jade. This is Chocolate Cake 101. Like I said, don't forget to download your copy of 31 Ways to Flow from the Stand store. The link will be below. And watch out for more content because I'm creating so much, you guys. Somebody said it to me the other day. I meant to say thank you. You're creating a powerhouse. You're creating a dynasty, and I am. He said, you're creating a dynasty, and I said, yes, I am. So look out for more things because I have so much more to come. Thank you guys for watching. My love is your love. How do the kids do it? I don't know. Peace.